What's up, you beautiful gamers, and welcome back to Role Playing James. Today we're reviewing Mortal Shell, but before we get into that, I'm going to give away one digital copy of the game for your platform of choice. All you have to do to enter the giveaway is to click that like button, be subscribed to the channel, and tell me down in the comments below what you think so far about the game. You have to start the comment with the quote, "I'm in." Winners will be announced on Tuesday 26th via Twitter, so be sure to follow me there. You can find my Twitter in the description of the video. After the announcement of the winner, I'll ask for you to contact me via personal message on Twitter to give you your digital copy of the game. With that out of the way, let's get into the matter, right? So first we're gonna talk about the graphics, and this right here is such a complex thing to do because of the context of the game. It's made by 15 people, and I have to say they all seem to be professionals. Artistic design of the game seems to be managed in a way where they capitalize on certain aspects to make the game look really good with what they have. There are some low quality textures around here and there, but they're hidden because of the marvelous lighting and shadowing work in the game. Also, we don't have that much of amazing things to see in the draw distance, but that's because the game just doesn't need it. The atmosphere of Mortal Shell has such a beautiful dark tone to it, and fog builds around everywhere because of how they are trying to build up this obscure atmosphere. Menus add a little extra layer to this, having this gothic aspect to them. The amount of death metal you'll spend playing this game, I assure you. But in a more bright side of things, foliage, different from other games out there that have this plastic and artificial look to it, in Mortal Shell looks really smooth and soft and just very well implemented. Cold Symmetry focus themselves in delivering quality over quantity, and they rightly do so. Being such a small team of people, they're smart and they're cunning, and they demonstrated with how well they handle the visuals of Mortal. Unfortunately, there aren't much armors to dress up our Barbies, but I do believe that it has to do precisely with this thing. Other than having a huge amount of armors, we have 4 of them, with their respective shell that just looks so gorgeous to the eye. Every armor is so special and different that just looking at them while you play is just so attractive to the sight. As of locations, we have some different places as well. I'll try not to spoil them for you in this review, but I have to say that despite having some stumbles around here and there, they're actually quite good as well. There's this snowy temple area that, switching over from the swamps, grants you this dynamism to what you see in the screen. It's rather short, but walls and polygons look so smooth that they're just so nice to watch. Also, we have this other temple that seems to be built upon this shining obsidian, and you have sunbeams softly reflecting on them. Just wonderful and pleasing to watch. You don't have the classic FromSoft Souls-like world connection visual from one area to another with breathtaking draw distances that connect this area to the other, but like I said, Cold Symmetry do what they can with what they have, and they do it nearing perfection. Moving on, let's talk about sound.
Promises all were desperate to hear, myself not least, for I'd seen my share of tragedy. I scratched my name in their book, swearing myself to the deathless doctrine. My armor clattered on the ice as I knelt before them and asked myself if I would ever be worthy.
Again, for such a small theme, it's marvelous what they are pulling out here. There really is a lack on soundtrack, but as of personal preference, I rather enjoy it to be like this, since the lack of music allows the game ambient sounds to build up this atmosphere with groans and echoes in the distance that just make you feel have these unsettling feelings at all times. It's just so intimidating to walk around it. There's really some attention to details with each of your footsteps resembling what you are stepping on your both feet. And the character voices acting is just extremely well done, and this is like something you wouldn't expect from this kind of small team to have pulled off this awesome and marvelous voice acting The shells, for example, sound like the voice of ancient warriors battle-hardened that also have a distinct personality to them, some having more accent resembling their way of speaking and their eloquence, but just fantastic work in here. Which leads us to the story, and this is what you would expect for a Souls-like approach. You learn more as you play, and your shells will tell you some of it as well. Most of what you learn, you do it by linking what you see in the world around you with little pieces of writing you find. Also, the narrative writing is really well done. Some characters have a more eloquent and poetic way of speaking, while commoners will address you in this direct style of language. There's a high mark of metaphors to be found that really allow a lot of analysis of how you learn what happened in this world. Alright, but what about what we all want to see? What about gameplay? A jewel as well. You see, most of the Souls-like that end up failing to meet up along the way with this genre, it's because most of the times they fail to meet the most basic core of the formula. And that's the attack animations, invincibility frames and dodge animations in order to make the game feel like it just has the right pace to it. Mortal Shell hitboxes are just where they're supposed to be. Time all your dodges and your invincibility frames will do the rest for ya. Time all your attack patterns and windows of opportunity, and enemies will suck your... Yeah, not allowed to say that, I'm sorry, but yeah, you'll do fine in the fight as long as you keep this in mind. Which brings us to the new proposal that Uncle Shell brought to the formula. You got it? The hardening. Not that kind of hardening, mister, I saw ya. But anyway, and you do need to have this in huge consideration if you're planning on getting the game. While this is not the core of the usual formula, Mortal Shell makes it to be for it. We're used to have a critical focus on fighting to rely on our dodges, and when we're allowed to attack animation cancels with dodges. Also, in most cases we have a shields, and this is where Mortal differs. Now you have to be much more focused during a battle. Attack recovery animations take way too long for you to be able to rely too much on dodging. So when you attack, you have to commit yourself to such attack. Most of the times you don't get a chance to dodge or roll away when you're in the middle of the attack and the enemy answers back with their poise. Now you have the battle hardening. If you can't roll away, you harden and you get a free pass on the enemy attack no matter what it is. But such a potent assets must have balance. Great power comes with great responsibility, and that is why you're not allowed to use it whenever you want to use it. It has a cooldown, but it also means that you need to be more tactical and more strategic when you fight. Many would call Mortal Shell to be clunky, but I personally wouldn't venture as far as to say that, and here's why. Latest Souls games, taking for example Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne, have a much more aggressive combat system because most of the times you only have to take care of timing attack and dodges. That's 2 focal points of commitment. A semi-third one when we talk about Dark Souls and shield, but you can just keep holding your shield by pure instinct. In Mortal Shell, combat is more slow paced because now you have 3 focal points of combat to develop. This means you need to mind your attack fingers, dodge fingers, and when the game requires of you, use the harden animation in exact right moment when you're about to get smashed in the head by a 300 pounds big dude with mace. Having all that in our heads with a more faster combat system will melt our brains before we even get to say Mortal Shell in the middle of the fight. So, I do believe that a more slow combat pace is the right way to go for this one. Also, there are some changes to the parrying mechanics in here. Parries are easier to pull off, but the timing is changed to when the enemy's wind-up is in motion. And the windows are quite bigger. With each parry you can then spend a resolve point to riposte and heal. I ended up using my resolve bars as a means to heal myself when needed. You can also use this resolve as weapon skill, so that opens up for versatility in playstyle of each person. I'm more of a parry guy, so I rather riposte than use weapon skills, but you can mix and match this up to your personal preference. Also, this might as well be a community splitter, since I understand that building characters is a huge aspect to gaming community's discussion, but there is none in Mortal Shell. You do have skills that you can upgrade for your shells, but they pretty much affect you passively in a way that the character is already pre-made. Your ultimate goal will be to unlock every single skill, because that's how you learn about the story of the characters, and this is what makes the fall less hurting. Each shell has a background story, and that mixed up with the atmosphere of the game adds such a huge layer of 2D immersion. The stories of the shells are so well made that they do add a sense of identity when you use them. While we're not allowed to make silly builds to bully newbies on PvP, now we switch that for a great character background story and feeling that you're this badass dude beating everything around with giant swords, which is another down point. Only 4 swords on the game, 4 weapons, I'm sorry, and a range one. But this turns back to what the developers are. Each and every weapon has a very unique feel to it, and mastering them allows you to have a great time with the great combat system that you can find in Uncle Mortal. They lean more into quality over quantity. If we compare this to, for example, Hellpoint, which is the closest competitor as far as dates of launch go, in Hellpoint you have tons of armors and tons of weapons, and those weapons are very different one to another with different skills, mind you. But some of those armors look low resolution on textures, I mean really low, they are quite noticeable. Also, weapons don't always connect with enemies due to some animation bugs, and at the time of this review this is still not patched, and this is by no means trying to attack the developers, which are also a small team. Trying to find the main bug under such an overwhelming amount of weapons and animations can be quite challenging. This is why I think that Mortal shines in here. They are cunning, like I said, they don't fly away so high that they can just burn. And they do most of what they can with what they have. Each and every weapon you have in Mortal Shell has a personality and use to it and functions. And with all being said, I rate my game reviews and rather do I recommend you to get the game or not, having in consideration the context of your personal preferences and judgment. I break the game as best as I can to show it to you naked, so that you can take a look at it and finally decide whether you like what you see or you don't. And if after seeing the game with all that it has in it, it doesn't, now you know what you're paying for. The game is set by the developers to last for like 25 hours. I finished it in like 15. Did got all of the shells, all of the weapons, did the upgrades, learned about the world, and I tell you what, I enjoy every single little bit of moment of it. And I'm planning on starting a new playthrough just to embody a different shell and learn more about them firsthand. Yes, I do recommend you to get a game. It's a half price game and you will get the value out of it, and also it's a finished, polished game that works. But with the game breakdown, now you can emit your own judgment on the game. Let me know down in the comments below what do you think about it. What do you like, what do you don't? Remember, I'll be choosing a winning comment to get a free digital copy of the game of your platform's choice. With that being said, I'll see you beautiful gamers in the next one. Stay awesome.